in every industry, you got your bad apples. I mean, every industry. A lot of the politicians don't understand the impact that they've had, and I'm sure it's the same with every industry, especially medically, because it's so, we're dealing with people's lives, and so am I.
We normally think about financial advisors as people who help us with our investments. If you were to break them down into different sort of buckets, what would all the buckets be?
Financial advisor can be like a GP, but then in your industry, you've got your specialists in every field. It's very much the same.
Hi everyone, welcome to another installment of the Investing for Doctors podcast. I'm your host, Dr. B, and today we have with us Mr. Roger Wheelahan.
Morning, B.
Morning. So, Roger, what are you and what do you do?
What am I? I am a financial advisor, or otherwise known as a financial planner, and have been for about 25 years now. In the profession for 25 years, I think licensed for 3 or 4, something like that. So been around for quite a while, seen a lot of changes, as you can imagine. But yeah, essentially financial advisor.
Yeah, and you've operated, financial planning business in the over the years?
Yeah. I operate my own practice now, as you know. I'm sure you're going to explain a bit further about why I'm here as well. I started in the industry 99, I think it was. Yeah, it must have been 99. It's 25 years. So 99. And back then, there wasn't really any programs to get in. It's like you just had to just study and then find someone who'll give you a shot as a junior advisor. But back then, the regulations were still, you had a certain benchmark of education you had to meet. But there was no formal... There was no interns or anything like that. There was no formal graduate or entry point or anything like that. It was just like thrown in the deep end and swim.
Yeah.
But I just struggled through that and just determined to be a planner. And I just worked my way through people who I knew, mentors people I wanted to be a mentor, who I thought were people I looked up to, and just worked my way through and then end up getting, recognised in professional roles in the likes of AMP Business Bank, where I was dealing with predominantly, business owners and high net worth clients and all that type of stuff. After I felt like I'd done my apprenticeship to be able to service those level of clients, and then get to a point where I said to a recruiter once, I said, I felt like I've gone as far as I can go. What's next? And he said, well, your own business. And I thought, well, that's pretty obvious. So there was a program back then. We're talking probably 2007 or 8 or something like that, or 9. There was a program with AXA, or AMP bought AXA, so it's an old product, old brand. They had a program called the Discovery Program. So they started building programs to fund people in. So I just started on that program and then just blew the lights out with the knowledge that I'd gathered and some of the leads that they'd provided over the time, the licensee, and then just kept working at it, and then got to a point where I built another practice with a JV with an accountant, and got to a point where I'd been a planner. I think it was 2017. Must be 2015 or something, or 16, and I said, I've had enough. I need a break. All these regulatory changes, and I guess we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about the regulatory changes
throughout.
Yes.
And I just feel like I've been beaten up, and just thought, I just need a rest. So I actually sold my practice, Wheelahan Investments at the time, within the group, and then I sold the partnership with the accountants. Obviously, was keen. She wanted to move on as well, so we sold that. Then I went and worked for Mark Boris at Yellow Brick Road for a couple of years. I was the New South Wales State Manager. And then after, working in the corporate world and not actually dealing with clients per se directly one-on-one like I'm used to and helping them individually or their businesses and what have you, I was actually helping like 35 up sometimes 60 branches within Yellow Brick Road, and they were training up financial advisors at the time, and so it really worked for me to be able to share my knowledge and experience and help train up those.
So you actually trained up
financial
quite
planners,
a number of planners, yeah,
who were originally brokers, so brokers that were becoming financial planners. Yeah. I just fell into that, and that was just something naturally I gravitated towards. It was the sales experience, was the communication, the tech side of it, all those types of things. And then I got to a point where I just really miss providing personal one-on-one advice and creating those relationships and long-standing friendships and relationships. Although I built friendships with the other branches and what have you, but I thought I just want to go back and take more control of my future. After having a break for 2 years, I realised, no, this is where I need to be. So I went back, and I guess this is a good segue into 2018, January 2018 or February 2018.
Great timing.
I purchased a book of a retiring financial planner.
Yes.
And just jumped straight into that and under the same licensee and what have you. And he was still there as an RM. Which was really helpful for the transition of clients and what have you. And that was great. So I was on that track and thinking, this is great. And we just had a child, and my wife's in the corporate world. And I thought, well, someone needs to be able to have a lot more flexibility when you've got children, as we all know. And I thought, well, this sort of all fits in for me. And then the Royal Commission came along.
Yes. That's a great segue into the Royal Commission. So before that, as you mentioned, when you first started, it seemed very much like the Wild West, right? People did whatever they wanted and charged whatever they wanted, and then the Royal Commission came. So
when you look back, it seems like a bit like the Wild West, but we all had good intentions, and in every industry you got your bad apples. I mean,
Absolutely.
Every industry, and these guys who don't adhere by the rules and really don't have their clients' interests at heart and don't have an honest integrity about them or whatever. I mean, that happens. But back then, the regulations were like, you just had to be like regulation 146. You just have to be that. And that was a certain level of education. So I think it was a diploma, but back then the diploma was so much harder than what it is now. I mean, it's so easy now. It's ridiculous.
It's based on money, really.
But But it was really hard. But, I just thought, I'm in this for the life. So I just dived straight in and did my diploma of financial advising with the Securities Institute of Australia back then. It doesn't exist anymore. I mean, Kaplan own it now.
Oh, yeah.
So I decided that I'll just follow that path. And then, sorry, I've actually forgot where I was at.
No, that's okay. So we were talking about the Royal Commission. Yeah. And
the Wild West. Sorry, I'm sorry. I was just
thinking.
thinking of those days, and it just made me have memories. The Wild West. Well, compared to now, I guess you could say it's like the Wild West.
Yes.
But it's just the regulations are a lot higher now. I mean, there was commissions within investment products in those days and things you didn't have to disclose. So there was like a bit of a gravy train that you could plug yourself into, getting commissions and all these type of things. But subsequently come to the Royal, even before the Royal Commission, trial commissions and things like that were outlawed, were ruled out or stopped in 2013 from the FOFA Act at that time, Future Financial Advice in 2013. So they grandfathered the MO. So any commissions that were being paid up until that date, you could still keep them, but any advice going forward, there's no commissions in investment products. However, there still is in life insurance, in the life insurance world. Which
and is that because there were some bad actors that were sort of not operating to their clients?
Yes, exactly.
Interest.
And that was pretty much the catalyst for the Royal Commission, because fee for no service. All right, and that was the thing. So you're charging a client and you call it fee for service, but you're actually not providing the service. So it's actually fee for no service. So really, that's not right. Well, it's not. And there was no official record of it. No official record where you had to sign and prove that you're providing the service and all and that type of thing. I mean, you're allowed to just ring up and say, "G'day, B, it's 12 months since we last met. Do you feel like you need a review?" And you might say, everything's fine. And you can put in your diary, offered review.
Yeah, right,
that's all you pretty much had to do. But I found it quite boring. I thought, that's not good enough.
Yeah,
so you have to do more.
Yeah.
So that was a catalyst for advice for no service. So they brought that in, and then the Royal Commission really changed again when you started charging agreed fees from a clients after they stopped the commissions. You would say, okay, B, I'm going to charge you X amount of dollars per year, and you're going to receive this list of services. It was recorded and tracked, and then that was really good because the client can now see if they're getting value for money, and it keeps the advisor proactive and honest, providing the service, and the client again can see if they're getting value for money. And I really do think that's a good thing. I mean, because even back when I started, when there was trails, you're getting me thinking way back now. I used to actually, what you could do is I used to dial down the commission in the investment products, and I would charge a disclosed agreed fee, which is pretty much the same fee, but it was stripped out. I pulled it out of here and put it over here for two things. It was transparent. The client could see what they were paying for and why they were paying it. And when it was sitting in the admin fee, it wasn't tax deductible. But if I took that out, dialed that down to zero, charged another fee over here, which is the same value, or could be more or whatever, that was tax deductible.
Oh, right.
And an ongoing. So the client used to say, yeah, you're showing great transparency, you're providing that ongoing service, and now that part of my fee is tax deductible.
Yeah.
So, but that I didn't have to do that. That was just how I wanted to run my business.
Yeah, right.
And it was well received.
Yeah, excellent. So you were a bit ahead of the curve at that stage.
Well, I could see it coming because it was Wayne Swan at the time, I think, was the treasurer. And, I just knew that the writing was on the wall. I could tell that the industry was changing, and I could tell. And, they changed the Royal Commission and the FOFA Act and all things. They changed like rules. It was like you had to have a reasonable basis providing particular amount of advice and service to a client and for recommending a strategy and a product. And I felt reasonable basis. What do you mean reasonable? Because it was product driven back then.
Yes.
And I thought reasonable basis, because in my head was like, well, I provide an advice service for the best outcome for you. So if I'm providing, I don't have reasonable basis. I have your best interest at heart.
Yeah,
that's why I'm providing advice. So I don't have a reasonable basis.
So the threshold is actually quite low, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
And I was quite confused throughout my career of the terminology and the regulations I came out with, because my integrity was like, I'm in this job to provide the best advice I can for a particular person's outcome. And if you have that sort of integrity, then all falls into place. You don't need a reasonable basis, because what you're doing is well and above the reasonable basis of what you're doing, because it's in their best interest. I don't have a reasonable basis to bring you from product A to product B. If I did that, it's far better in your interest that I do that. And I disclose it to and show you why and demonstrate why. Then bid best interest duty came in. And again, that my head was spinning. What's his best interest? It's like, is there something I'm missing here?
Yeah.
Because isn't that what we're meant to do from day one?
So, I'm going to bring in this concept of, principal agency dilemma, right? So the principal say, you're a financial advisor, I'm coming to you for services. Mm-hmm. So I'm the principal because I'm coming to you, and you're the agent, and you know a lot more than I do in terms of financial advice and planning and all this sort of thing. So there's a well-known dilemma in any sort of service industry, including medicine, right? Where when we provide medical advice, say, okay, you need to have this operation.
Yes.
Right? Depending on how you sell it, you could oversell an operation because I can derive revenue from that operation. I guess in medicine, we tend to be more trusted individuals because we hold ourselves to high code of conduct. Absolutely. And, I would say most surgeons won't operate on someone unless they felt that it could benefit them or it's needed. But again, there's quite a bit of gray in that, right? And I think what happened previously is that the principal agency dilemma on you as an agent acting for me, whose interest do you place ahead of the other?
Well, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, logically speaking, it should be the principal's interest.
Correct.
But sometimes the agent will also say, well, if I only did this, I could get a bit more benefit out of it. So I think maybe perhaps some of the legislation was to really dial that back.
It is. It's heavily aligned with it was to lift the profession to a standard of lawyers, doctors, accountants, and all those types of things. Even though in all these professions we have CPD points, as we all know what I'm talking about there. Yeah. We've since day one we've had to do that as well. But yeah, it's to bring the perception of the industry up to that level, because Australia has a very under-advised population because of cost. And one thing, that was another thing with the Royal Commission, they wanted to be able to reduce some of the red tape, because FOFA and the FSRA Act in 2004 and what have you just bought, you had to, a 5-page document for advice. Then the FSRA Act came in, then you had to do this thing called Statement of Advice. So the pendulum went all the way over here.
Yeah, there's an SOA.
90 pages.
Yeah.
So it went way too much. So it's coming back now. The Royal Commission was to try and bring more sense to the industry after what we've learnt over the 20 years, or it wasn't 20 at that time since the Act. But it was to learn. It's to learn what we've learned and put better practice in place and remove unnecessary red tape that was just a hindrance, because no one read that 90-page document. The advisor knew what was a lot of templated stuff, but no one would read it, and it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Again, when you were talking earlier, like it's like overselling, but like here's this 90-page document. There's only about 5 or 6 pages in there
That's important.
that are really are important to you, and you really need to know. The rest is just for the lawyers.
Yeah.
It's for the lawyers. It's so to make sure that we've disclosed everything we can, because the Act's got everything's got so finicky and litigious that you didn't say this to me, Mr. Advisor. Well, I didn't say one thing to you, but here's a statement, but it's in the statement of advice. You signed for it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so
the pendulum has swung way too much,
back.
and now it's swinging back to something
even further.
Yeah,
because we're looking to since the Royal Commission. I might just go back to the Royal Commission because that was a big turning point for the whole industry. There used to be about 28,500 advisors in the country. Do you know how many are now?
Half.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's about 16,400.
Yeah.
A lot of that's got to do with the education standards that were lifted from the Royal Commission, a few other legislative changes and what have you, and mainly was because of the education, because there was a lot of older advisors saying you needed to have a degree, a relative degree, a degree that's recognised or relevant to your industry, or do further studies and what have you.
And some of them were just
and
like...
some are like 55, 60,
yeah.
and they're thinking... And that had to come in by January 2026. And I think, well, I'm going to be retired by then. So what I could just work out to 2026, and then I'm retiring, then I don't have to do any more studies. But some left earlier from that. It just kicked a lot of people out. There was guys like myself who had all those years experience, and technically I did the Diploma of Financial Advising back in 2004, where I completed it, which was 8 modules, 8 exams and 8 assignments. You don't do that now. It's only 4, and you don't even have to do an assignment, I don't think. But then I got a prior recognition for the advanced diploma, because now it's just a diploma is 4, then another 4 gives you the advanced. So I said, hang on, I've already done this. So I qualified for all that. So anyway, getting back to that, there was a lot of guys in my position where, like, I don't want to study again. I don't want to repeat what I've already done. I've got years and years of experience. So there's a thing called FASIA, which is, I won't talk about, but they were enforcing you had to have further education or relative degree or what have you. In my instance, I had to do, out of 8 modules, I had to do 6 to get to this graduate diploma, which, as you know, is higher than a degree.
So essentially, it's now a greater threshold for people to enter the industry and also to stay in the industry as well.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. With what they did is they've created this thing called the experience pathway, right? So again, I was like reluctant and almost out of just refused. I don't need to do any more study. I've got so many years of experience, and I'm studying all the time with the CPD points, which keeps you up to date with all the professions type of thing. And I was just relying on it, that they had this carve out for experienced advisors. And in the end, it was if you had 10 years experience over the last 15, which was between 2007 and 2008 or 9 or something, 19, sorry, something like that, you had to have 3,000 something hours or something. And they were accounting for women who were off on maternity, things like that, career breaks and things like that. And it was legislated. Then I got through on that.
Okay, good.
So because I've been around for so long and so much experience, I can keep continuing. And you had to have a clean record with ASIC and no complaint. I mean, that was easily met. But now, for new entrants, you have to have a degree. So it's up with the doctors, up with the lawyers, up with the accountants, all those types of things. So you've got to have a degree. Then you've got to do a professional year. Yes. Sitting under a senior advisor, much the same as it would be in your profession. And I think that's brought us up to the level of the other professions of the entry, the education, and it's just a recognised standard, which QF6 or something, or 7 or something, I think it is, with the Education Board. I do agree with that. Yeah. But what they put guys like myself through, there was turmoil. And I don't know if this is a bit dark, if you want to edit this out or nothing or something, but there was 30 advisors committed suicide. Oh, really? They did in that period. Yeah. Between the Royal Commission and up till a couple of years ago, 30 of them killed themselves because of all the regulatory changes and how they killed them. It's like, for instance, with the Royal, we're talking about the Royal Commission, so I was just demonstrating the impact. When I purchased my book, there was a lot of grandfathered commissions within there, and again, I had no legal or regulatory sort of obligation to keep servicing that because it was grandfathered under those new old rules and what have you. And then it was grandfathered. So it was a constitutionally owned asset signed by Bill Shorten when he was a finance minister.
Oh, okay, cool.
And they took it. The Royal Commission just said, no, it's gone. So I paid for that book, and I'm a small fish in a big pond for a lot of guys who spent millions on books at a multiple around 3 times.
Yeah.
They got taken off, and there was nothing we could do about it. They said, no, you can't. They cut that off.
Yeah,
cut the revenue. So you've paid 3 times for say $100,000 revenue. You paid $300. They said, well, you can't have that 100 anymore.
Yeah.
So you're paying a debt for something you don't have.
Yeah.
That happened to me, and it took me years to recover out of just purely tenacity and just, this is what I wanted, this is what I am, and this is my life. And, but I've heard stories of guys who've spent millions and they've had their
they would be financially wrecked. Yeah.
They have, and that's why some killed themselves.
Yeah.
So a lot of the politicians don't understand the impact that they've had, and I'm sure it's the same with every industry, especially medically, because it's so, we're dealing with people's lives, and so am I.
Tightly regulated.
Yeah. So Stephen Jones now is the minister now, and of course he's enacted some of the things. He hasn't fulfilled all of his election promises and what have you. It was really good in the start. We're all gung ho for it, but the only thing that came through that I feel is of major significance is the education pathway. So I know my future is secure.
Yes,
and so is the industry in a sense, because I've got to be able to train up incoming advisors, as we know about. So. They knew they were destroying the industry, so they thought, well, geez, we have to do something about this. And they're starting to fix it, and it's slowly starting to get better with more common sense. But I guess the entry point's far more acceptable, and I totally agree with it.
Yeah, okay. That's a very comprehensive history, and obviously there's been a lot of shake-ups in this. So thank you for running us through that whole history of it. Now we'll get...
Well, it's just a bit of a beef of mine. There's a lot of advice. I still have that as a beef. And
that's all right.
I just want to get off the chest, which we all have a million times. But there's more to it if you want more. But
of course.
I'll let you lead.
Yeah, so let's get back to a bit more sort of basic stuff.
Yep.
Now that we know that there's a lot of changes and, some things for the better, some things might be for the worse. The first question I've got for you is going to be a very simple one. A lot of people talk about financial advisor, financial planner. Mm-hmm. Is there a difference?
No.
No difference at all?
No.
All right.
Not at all.
Yeah. So they're interchangeable in essence.
They are interchangeable, and you have to be an authorised rep to be able to represent yourself as a financial advisor or planner. Those 2 words are key words.
Yeah. Awesome.
Because financial consultant, you can say you're a financial consultant, not be a licensed advisor. So people be careful. They need to be a licensed, authorised financial advisor or planner, which are the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. And to be that, you mentioned you obviously have some licensing to do, and that license is being an authorized representative under AFSL, or financial service license.
Yep.
Yeah. And everyone who does this kind of business needs to have that.
Absolutely. You have to be either hold your own AFSL, Australian Financial Services License, hold your own, or be a representative of one, which I am, of a company called Lifespan Financial Planning, which is the biggest family-owned one, which is not aligned to any products or anything. That's not really a plug, it's just fact. And it's something I'm proud to be a part of. So you need to be an authorised rep. So if you hold your own licence, it's very expensive to hold your own AFSL when you're providing personal advice, because there's so much compliance, as I've touched on, but there's a book this thick, more of it. So the thing's called licensees. And they're companies, and they're just like, if you want to call them that, they're like compliance companies. But we call them licensees. We used to call them dealer groups. So they hold the license, and what they do is they provide all the back-end compliance service for you to make sure that you've got the right templates with the right wording, you've got the right services, you've got the right approved products which are being researched, and make sure you've got processes and procedures in place. And so they're like a partner with you, but you pay a fee to them. So and when you provide advice, not only I'm providing advice, it's on their license, so they're backing me.
Yes.
So it's not like, where's Roger? Well, who's his licensee? Let's go and see them.
Yeah.
So that's the security behind it.
Yeah. So in essence, they're infrastructure for, and also a compliance sort of framework.
They're pretty much just a compliance company for financial advisors, and because there's so much regulatory stuff you got to do that you don't have to, you wouldn't be able to run your business. You wouldn't be able to see a client, because you're just dealing with paperwork, and they're your back office.
Yeah. Excellent. And the next part of it is that, we normally think about financial advisors as people who help us with our investments. But there's actually a lot more to it, isn't there? Because there's the concept of general advice, there's personalized advice, and there is so many other branches of financial advice, such as self-managed super fund, insurance. Tell us a bit more about, if you were to break them down into different sort of buckets, what would all the buckets be?
Well, there's a financial advisor, you could, like your profession, the financial advisor can be like a GP, okay? But then in your industry, you've got your specialists in every field.
Yes.
It's very much the same. So I'm a GP, but I have had, because I've been in for so long, I did specialise in different areas over the years out of pure interest and wanting to be able to cover everything properly. So there are areas, as you say, areas of superannuation.
Yes.
Now that can be just your plain old superannuation with your APRA regulated funds, which like your Hesters and all those old, that's old. And then there's your self-managed super fund, which is still superannuation, but very different responsibilities and very different kettles of fish in the sense of how they're managed. Then there's your risk insurance, which is your life insurance, like your life, TPD, trauma, and income protection, which forms the foundation of financial advice because, we talk, everyone sort of, it's like the hidden or unknown or forgotten little brother because we provide, they think we provide all this advice and make millions of dollars and all this sort of stuff. But what happens if you get sick? This leads on to your industry. What happens if you get sick and you can't work? Those plans have just gone out the window. So risk insurance actually underpins the whole lot. So if you were and you got debt and what have you, and you've got massive debt, you got a family, your trajectory to earn this amount of dollars by the time you're 65 or what have you, you fall over and can't work, that's just gone. So it underpins that, protects the family with the life insurance and TPD. Then the income protection provides a replacement of your income can be to your 65 or 70, depending on the product and what have you. It's called risk insurance. So it provides a security and insurance that your plans can still pretty much follow what they originally were, whether you can work or not.
Yeah, or whether you're alive or not.
So whether you're alive or not.
Because you've got other family members and children you got to look after.
Absolutely. So you might leave a spouse with male or female, doesn't matter, a spouse with a couple of kids and a mortgage. And that surviving spouse does not have any work experience and then has to really try and, sell the house. So life insurance can replace that. So they've got a house and then you can replace that salary as well with the life insurance if they were to die. So to me, it's an unforgotten, but probably one of the most important things, in my opinion, is it underpins and sets the foundation of your plan. Then we build on top of that. So as I said, we've got superannuation and self-managed super fund, which is both superannuation. You've got your risk insurance, which is what we people get confused with insurance as a general. Risk insurance is interpreted as life insurance. So basically think of it like we insure bodies. Yeah. General insurance insures things, houses and cars and things. Okay. So, and when it comes to insuring bodies, only a financial advisor can provide advice on that. You can go direct to some product providers, but again, there's regulatory ways they've got to provide advice and know a bit more about you. And people sort of think we're brokers. It's sort of like acts like a broker, but you have to still provide a financial plan for risk insurance, just for income protection.
Yes,
even just one income protection, you have to do it. So there's no such thing as a broker in that sense for risk insurance.
So they're all financial planners, but they operate only on insurance.
There can be. There are planners who just do that. They specialize in risk. So risk insurance means insurance bodies.
Yeah.
So we've got that, and then you've got your standard investments outside superannuation. So you can have money in shares, funds, property, like the investing for doctors, lending. The girls provide advice for investment properties and what have you. They're like the areas, but then we can get to further areas such as we can use for business purpose. Like we can use that risk insurance for key man insurance in businesses and buy-sell agreements between the two different owners.
So it's great you brought that up because some doctors will go into partnerships with other doctors to open a clinic, and
one passes away,
or one can no longer work in that. What happens, and often that leaves a little.
Well, that's an area that we're talking about. I did specialise in one of those areas with a solicitor from Brisbane called Ian Gray when I was at ANZ Business Bank, and I decided to delve into that because I had the resources to really focus on.
That's something you do as well. Yeah,
something I do, and I did quite extensively. I'll give an example. You're married with your wife. I'm married with my wife. You and I are doctors. We've got to practice together.
Yeah.
You and I both agreed it's worth $2 million and we own 50-50.
Yeah.
Right. So it's $1 million each of equity in it. I die.
Yeah.
You've just acquired a new partner, my wife.
Yeah.
She knows nothing about the medical industry or being a doctor, nothing. So, logically people think, well, B, you want to buy it off my wife, and my wife wants to sell it to you, which is what people want to do. But you're going to want a low price. She's going to want a high price. But where are you going to get the money from?
Yeah.
Most likely you wouldn't have $1 million sitting around in the bank account.
You have to go borrow it from somewhere.
You have to go borrow
Yeah.
it. And then the bank will say, well, hang on, the risk has just doubled because now your partner, you had two key men. Now you've only got one key man, so the risk has gone up. So it might be harder for you to get the money.
Yeah, and worth less because the other person was generating revenue for the business.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So there's a massive dilemma.
Yeah.
So what we do is we put insurance in place. So we have insurance policy on me for $1 million, insurance policy on you for $1 million. So what happens then, we have a shareholder agreement or a buy-sell agreement where we say in the agreement, and you and I are both healthy of mind and we're healthy, and we agree without any emotions or bickering or want this, want that. We're both healthy. So yeah, we agree it's $1 million. So we've come to that. So we didn't need to go to an accountant to spend a lot of money to get a valuation because we both feel it's worth $1 million each.
Yeah.
So we've agreed on that. So we put that in a shareholder agreement, buy-sell, legal, binding, buy-sell agreement, saying if I die, the company will get in a trust, will get the $1 million.
Yeah.
You will give her that $1 million and she will give you those shares for that $1 million.
Yes.
No negotiating a price, no issues. It's a done deal. And we both agree.
Okay. And
it's happened so smoothly and seamlessly that you've now own 100% of the business. You own it all. You don't have to borrow any more money. You've now got able to still bring in another partner if you choose, or whatever you'd like to do. But my wife's now looked after with the $1 million because she sold it instantly, got the price that we felt it was a fair price.
Yes.
And you don't have to stress about it. No one has to stress, apart from the grieving that I've just dead.
Yeah.
But that's and because I really get a kick out of that because that's so valuable. It's so.
And does the business actually purchase that insurance?
Yes,
right. And then it becomes a business expense in a way. No.
It's a capital expense. So it's
not a capital expense.
It's not tax deductible, it's capital expense. But for the value that it provides, you just suck it up and take it as a fringe benefit or something like that. But the company owns it in a trust. So it's Roger and B Medical owns this in trust. Yes. Proprietary Limited owned in trust.
Yeah. So beautiful. I mean, it's almost like a prenup for a business.
It is. It's a prenup because as the old joke, you get married when you go into business. So it's like a prenup, but it's a funding mechanism. Yes. And you use insurance as a tool to use it. So that's why planning. There's so many facets of it.
Aspects to planning.
Yeah, and I can use the plain old life insurance for such a valuable tool in that instance. And that's the things that I get a kick out of doing is those more. I like looking after families, but in the business world, I like making sure that as a business owner, you've got those risks covered.
And those continuities.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's one area. There's quite a few others. There's key man. If I was to be, like I generate revenue, a couple of $100,000 a year or what have you, could have a trauma policy on me.
Yeah.
Where the company would own it, the business would own it, and saying it's $200,000. So $200,000 would come into the business. I'm off with a heart attack or whatever for 6 to 12 months off work, and I can't generate income. The business has got my income, my generation replaced.
Yeah, right.
But then I could still have my own trauma policy on me for my needs, my medical needs, but the business has now been covered. That's how a key man can work.
Yeah,
as well as me having income protection.
Yeah. No, that's lovely. Yeah, and so it goes beyond just the individual, but also the businesses and other assets you have as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. No, it's a great tool, and it's called a buy-sell agreement.
Yeah, I think we need to have a whole topic on that.
That is a whole topic on that, and I could potentially down the track I could bring in my solicitor friend who I used to specialise on that if we were to go down that path to talk about it, who I used to work with extensively.
That's a deal.
That's a deal. Great. Right. I'm sure he will. He'd love it. But yeah, that's the sort of areas how I specialise in particular areas over these, and then self-managed super fund because those businesses generally owners have self-managed super funds. Yeah, and that ties all into it as well. So I provide the structural advice.
Now, so there's other things in financial planning, right? Like retirement and
that's another area.
And succession planning and all these sort of things.
Well, retirement planning, absolutely. That's something I do specialize in a lot now. Helping retirees transition.
Sorry? You've been in this industry for a while, so I guess some of your clients are getting to that.
Transitioning, exactly. And there are things called transition to retirement, pensions, and helping clients transition financially to retirement in structures that provide effectively as much as I can a tax-free income. I mean, that's where the strategy around superannuation before you retire is very important, because it's how much you can get into super. Because when you get to super in retirement, you can draw an income, a tax-free income. You can have an account-based pension at this stage, $1.9 million each person of a tax-free asset in providing a taxed-free income. Now,
substantial.
That's per person.
Yeah.
So, but that's only how much you can get into super when you got to prepare for it, because there's caps that you can get in each year. Yeah. So you got to make sure you start early enough to project to make sure you get as much in there, because I just like to reiterate, super is not investment. It's not an investment. It's just a tax structure. That's all it is. Yeah. You can invest in anything in there. And again, this is something I really wanted to get across. We were talking earlier that financial advice to me is about, first and foremost, who owns the asset. And that's how you provide your advice around that. Like, should I have my $1 million, my superannuation? Well, how old are you for a start? Are you 20? It's a long time before you can touch it. You're going to need it between now and then.
Yeah, but if you don't need it,
I'm 55.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can touch it in 5 years and tax-free. So advice is individual. So it's all about the ownership of the structure. Like, there can be insurance bonds, there can be superannuation, which is the best vehicle at the moment in this country. It's like the Cayman Islands, but it's legal. You can have a zero tax environment, and who doesn't want zero tax? Everyone does. Correct me if I'm wrong, but everyone would. So that's why it's one of my favourite. And at the same time, providing a tax-free income and also helping them get an uplift in the age pension.
Yes.
Again, because there's thresholds in there, and there's ways that we can invest assets in structures, different structures, as I said, regardless of the underlying asset and the investment, which have regulatory rules for Centrelink asset test purposes and all those sorts of things. So I can get someone who doesn't qualify for the pension, I can get them to qualify for the pension.
Yeah, beautiful. And
generally speaking.
Generally
speaking.
Yeah. And
it can be done.
And that's a huge thing from a mindset from a lot of retirees I hear, is that, when you're on the pension, you get the pension card, and that pension card means you can get health services cheaper, you can get subsidized rates, and lots of benefits.
No regos, yep.
Yeah. So
value in it
can be very valuable, just to, even if you're on the tiny part pension.
Yeah. Get $1 a fortnight.
Yeah. And a lot of people have had that mindset. It's like, hey, I've been working my ass off my whole life. I want the government to give me something in old age.
I've paid enough taxes. I deserve
it. Exactly.
That's the old mindset of the old aging population. And okay, fair enough. Rightly so. If that's how they feel, then that's my job, is to do what I can for them.
Yeah.
And that's very fulfilling for me as well. But again, there's so many topics to talk about, different areas. I mean, the retirement one is a big area, which is, there are advisors who just specialize in retirement. There's aged care as well.
Oh, aged care.
Aged care is a big one.
Getting into nursing homes.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I'll disclose it now. The only thing that I really haven't delved into out of all the areas of financial advice, because there's just too much. There's too much. And there are specialists, and just let them do it.
Yeah.
One day I may want to, but I'm not spring chicken, so I don't know. But I enjoy what I do now. There's a lot of people who need advice now called accumulators, such as yourself and myself. We're accumulating, and then we need to transition to retirement. So there's just so much. And again, there's only 16,500 advisors.
Yeah.
So there's a good career path. If everyone doesn't want to be a doctor anymore, there's a good career path in being a financial advisor, because we're understaffed, put it that way.
Yeah. And it seems like there's so much barriers to entry into the industry now compared to what it was. So unless you know that's where you want to be and you plan for that, it's actually hard to say you want to do this. So I've actually looked into it.
Oh, yeah.
And for me to become a financial advisor, I have to do, I think, an 8-unit postgrad diploma. And once I've done, I have to still do that exam,
professional year,
and then a professional year.
Yeah, you got to do the first year exam,
and then a professional year. So for someone to transition, it's a bit of an investment, isn't it?
Well, it is, because with the transition, there was like having a relevant degree, but your degree is not relevant to finance.
No. Yeah.
As technical as hard as yours.
Really,
you see, for new entrants, you still have to do the new degree, and I don't think a relevant degree applies anymore. It has to be the financial planning one, and then the professional year and all that type of stuff.
So I think my understanding is that if you went and did a commerce degree, a lot of that will apply. Accounting and all of those things will apply. So for those that don't,
don't meet that, you've got to. It's like me saying, I might have a crack at being a brain surgeon. No, it's either you are in for life or you just don't do it.
Yeah,
because it's a commitment.
Yeah. So, just for those who know me, I like when I learn about things, I like to actually do courses on them. So I'm actually halfway through.
Good.
Financial
well, that's great because it
planning.
makes me easier to explain things because you get what I'm talking about and help me articulate if I'm not doing it right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually going through that process. I've done 4 units now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's on the diploma.
Yeah.
4 out of 8 or
4 out of 8. Okay. I've done 4 out of 8
with Kaplan.
Yes, with Kaplan. Yeah. And I'm doing that just because it's interesting. I might never become one, but it's good to know something.
But not everyone's like you, B. I mean, you're a bit of a brain sponge. I mean, you've got a high IQ who can absorb things a lot easier than most.
Yeah. And so it is hard because there's such a shortfall, and the difference that one can make when you actually get good financial advice versus poor financial advice can make a huge difference accumulated over the years.
Yeah. I mean, clients I've just doing recently, it's just, I just get such a kick out of, I do all the material things, but the kick that I get out of, you're the best financial I've ever had. I'm like, oh, well, really? And he goes, yeah, that's why I tell everyone. I'm like, well, that just feels so good in here because of the service. I mean, the strategy, I know, we know the technical stuff, but it's the service that I provide ongoing for that and my follow-up with him. Have you sent that through yet? Because we've got to put another $200,000 in super because you're turning 60 next week or whatever. And we're going to start a pension. We've got to get as much in. You're at these caps. We've got to do this. And they love that because I follow up and say, come on, we've got to do this. And it's for you.
You need to keep the client
momentum
accountable
going,
and you got to keep them actioning. And it's so valuable in...
We're engaged. Yeah. We're engaged to work together. I'm just not the pain in the ass that tells you what to do. I will work with you if you're as engaged as much as I am because this is for you, not for me. You're going to get the kick out of it more than I am. Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we finish this session, like costs, right? How are financial advisors remunerated? Well, as I said, there's no commissions in investment products anymore or entry fees or anything like that into investments. There used to be, there's not now. But there is with life insurance. But I'll break it down just quickly. So how I charge a fee and how which is pretty much generally the norm in the industry is I meet with the client obviously and have an initial consultation and make sure I can provide some service for you to them. No obligation. Add value. No obligation, no. So if I see that there's some issues there that I could really help you out with and I feel you can get some value, then it's a financial plan fee. All right. So that could range from $1,600 to $4,500 to $5,000, depending on the complexity and the amount of people I'm dealing with, like a family or is it, extended family or what have you. But then there's another issue with that. But anyway, it's between those ranges. So and there's about 30 hours work in that because we've got all the fact finding we've got to do. Then I've got to find out your goals and objectives. So I've got to find out what do you really want to get out of this? What do you want to do? So that's a big part of it. So we've got that far. We've got that. Okay, yep, we've agreed to go ahead. Okay, it's going to cost you $4,000 for a plan, and I reckon we can come out with these sort of outcomes because when you're doing it long enough, you know what you're going to come out with because you've done it so many times. But then you get to a point where you go, all right, well, I've done the plan, presented the plan, I've explained it to you over 2 hours because it's so long, and you said, yeah, right, great, I understand that. Okay, I can see my benefits, I can see the outcomes, I see the comparisons you've made, I see you've looked at this, and that's the best for me. Right, let's go ahead. Well, it's useless unless it's implemented. So we're going to implement it. Yeah. So there's an implementation fee. And again, I think that's something between $1,500 and $4,500, depending on what's necessary. I mean, there could be a self-managed setup included in that. That's where the $4,500 to $5,000 comes into it. Yeah. All right, so that's that. They're once-off costs. Capital expenses, unfortunately, they're not tax deductible. Mm-hmm. So they're just once-off. So you're on board now. You're up and running. We're invested. We're set. Your structure's set. You're on board. Then there's an ongoing annual fee paid by the client, agreed by the client, and depending how it's paid, whether your bank account or your super, depending on how much advice you're giving to each structure. It's a minor detail. ASIC wouldn't think that, but it is. So an ongoing annual fee. Now, getting back to the Royal Commission on that, you have to, you say, well, you're going to pay $4,000 for this year and you're going to get these services. Yeah. Okay, sorry. So a year passes and you pay monthly. It comes out of your asset, however it's direct debited. Then we'll get to 12 months, say, right, it's time for your review. We may have spoken throughout the year quite a few times, but your official review is this date, which is the date you signed to move on. Then we sit down, how's everything going? How's your portfolio performing? How's this going? Anything new in your life? More income, less income? And okay, get married, get divorced, get a kid, whatever. Whatever needs to be dealt with, we deal with it at that time. And then we make the adjustments and then we say, well, as again, you paid X amount for the last 12 months. These are the services that were offered. And this is how the graph says this is what was it. It's entitled, received, tick, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So then again, you can see you got value for money out of it. Aside from the returns you got and whatever it is, and the intangible that you can see by the protection of insurance and those things, you go, yes, I can see. Yep, great. I'll sign again for another 12 months.
Yeah.
So it's an opt-in.
It's a continuous opt-in.
It's a continual opt-in every year. Now, it's very cumbersome at the moment. Again, they're changing that to where I used to have to show you, I still do, what you paid last year. And then in the same document, I show you what you've got to pay for the next year and what you're entitled to. Then I do that again in this year. I come back again and saying, this is what you paid last year. This is what you're going to pay next. It's like repeat.
It's like a
two steps forward, one step back.
Yeah, continuous disclosure.
Backwards and then forwards. But now it's like, why do clients want to keep showing them what I got to pay last year when I told them what they're going to pay in that coming year? So now the government's changing it to, I think that's passed, where saying, well, you just have to keep saying in the next 12 months, you're going to pay X. Next 12 months, you're going to pay X. Not back and forwards, backwards, two steps forward, one step back. So it's a little bit less paperwork. You just keep disclosing each year. But the bottom line is, your client can see you're getting value for your money. And that, if you think about, then your practice can get to a point where you have capacity to only just service clients and not take any more on, because all you're doing is reviewing. Yeah. And that's a nice position to be. I'm very close to that, but as you know, we've got other resources in play.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that and I love my clients.
Yeah.
That's why this venture is quite exciting, because it's new. But that's how that works. So statement of advice, implementation, ongoing annual, which is an opt-out if you want. No one's ever had, but.
Yeah. And so, sometimes you hear people who say, I'm being charged a percentage of my assets under management. How does that model work?
Well, that's an older way of doing it.
Yeah.
I've never really liked that, because it's like, if you think of it this way, okay, so as I said, I didn't mention this, and something I like to say is we're like financial architects. So we set the architecture up and then we go inside and do the buildings and build the different rooms and what have you. But when it comes to the fee for service percentage, like you might be putting out on the superannuation of 1% or something like that on the asset. So if it goes up, I get 1% of a higher balance, or it goes down.
Yeah.
But what that does to me, some people used to say, well, it shows that I've got a vested interest. I think that's rubbish. Because I've actually just now attached myself to the market, which I can't control the markets. I can control risk, but I can't control them. Other markets do. But that says that but what about all these other things you're providing advice for? Well, they become devalued and incidental, and the tangibility just drops off.
I see.
So I'm like, no, I charge a fee for everything I do. A flat fee covers this, and the portfolio. Yeah. Because, and I've said this and argued this with licensee owners and things, and said, I really don't like disclosing it that way, because it's like they think I'm a stockbroker or a fund manager. I'm not. I'm a financial advisor, which encompasses everything. But I do have the specialties in those fields. So I do use managers, but I make sure they perform, and I kick them out if they're not performing. So there is a specialty area in that. But that's why some people still do it, percentage of the balance funds under management. I mean, the fund managers do it, but that's different how they work, because they need to do it that way. But as an advisor, I provide a full financial services service for a flat fee, like an accountant does, or a barrister. But the more I do, the more you pay. But it's not based on just what the market does, because that's only a small part of what affects you.
Because you might be early in your life, and you have less assets, and those clients will miss out because you say, oh well, I can only take 1% on 100,000 as $1,000, not worth my time. And so those people lose out, whereas they could be the ones that benefit the most from good financial advice at the start.
Exactly.
If they paid a little bit more.
Yeah. And that's actually a good segue back to the Royal Commission. That's what the purpose of the Royal Commission was to do, was to identify how we could make financial advice or clean it up, and how we could provide advice to the average Australian at a fair price.
Yes.
And to date, it's failed. They're still trying to get it right. So there's less advisors putting our fees up because they're putting our fees up, but that's counteractive. So I know you want to finish up, but I'm sort of saying advisors, we do have the benefit to help swing the election because we can tell our advisors, well, our clients say, well, this is what they're doing to our industry I provide advice for you. This is how what they do to me is going to affect you. So you have the power to actually change the outcomes, which is true. And this is not manipulative. And it's actually
no, it is true.
Where we educate clients and say, help them lobby because they're just dragging their heels and it just becomes an election promise. And it really devastates. I said 30 advisors top themselves because of just the devastation that it caused. So, I don't want to harp on the dark side, but, I'm still here. Still wanting to be an advisor, still many more.
I'm glad you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here. But no, in the sense that I'm still progressing with my career as an advisor and want to keep going because I like the outcome for my clients. The worst is definitely over.
Yeah.
The worst is definitely over. So it's all, there's
time to build.
Massive light at the end of the tunnel now.
Yeah.
Still a lot of things they could do, but it's better.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
we just got to get the costs down so we can pass on those lower costs to the average Australian to get financial advice and advise clients. There are facts, and I know you love facts and figures. Advised clients do have far better outcomes than non-advised clients. So it pays to get advice.
Awesome. With that, I think we'll end today's podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that dive in history and.
You're welcome. It's good of a cathartic exercise for me. That was good. Thank you very much.
This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The information and opinions shared are not intended as personal financial advice. The content presented should not be relied upon for making financial, investment, or other decisions. Listeners are strongly encouraged to seek the advice of qualified financial or legal professionals before making any financial decisions. While we aim to provide valuable and accurate information, we make no guarantees regarding the completeness or accuracy of the content. Any reliance on the information provided is done at your own risk.